Alex, what are we talking about today?
Well, it is one stock we're talking about today, Neeraj. And by the way, thanks so much for joining in to Editor's Cut. This is where we delve a little deeper into the big headline and get you actionable insight. We're talking about Adani Green today and the fact that the promoters are going to be infusing as much as 9,350 crore rupees, not an amount of money to sneeze at. Why is this significant though? What is it going to be used for? And how do you look at Adani Green from this point? Gentlemen, what I was thinking about, and I was looking at the price of Adani Green, and if you look at just the year-to-date performance, and you look at a point-to-point movement, you may not make a big deal out of it. It is about 14% lower from the start of the year. But from the low point, it has more than tripled. So why is it significant that the promoters are putting money in at this level? Sajid?
It's... I think it's the kind of faith that they have in the business, which is the reason why they are investing now over 9,000 crores. And Neeraj will come in from an investor perspective, because we've seen in the last couple of months, we saw GQG entering into some of the Adani companies, including Adani Enterprises. It came at a price of 504, and then it came again at 920 in June.
This is GQG.
This is GQG, and then followed by Qatar Investment Authority coming at 920 again in the month of August. So for the investors who entered at the low point, which was around 468 or so in February, it's a multi-bagger for them in that sense, right, Neeraj?
Yeah, I mean, yes, and no, I mean, so one thing, so just before I get to what it, I mean, from an investing perspective, what does it sound like? Sajid, very unwell Sajid, by the way. Yeah. So I think he's freezing within the jacket as well. But Sajid, it's in the air, so take heart from that. But just the point about how the equity fundraise is not the only one that they have done.
That's right. When $3 billion they've raised in 1 month, that speaks volumes about the capability of the group to raise funds and go again back into the aggressive plan of achieving 45 gigawatts for the green energy part of it. There are other also, which is there, they have a total plan of nearly $100 billion over the next 10 years, which is coming in. But green energy, $45 billion, 45 gigawatts is the target there, and they've been able to raise $3 billion, 1.12, where the promoters are putting in money through warrants. There is $300 million, which is coming as part of the Total JV, where the JV is going to put up nearly 1,050 megawatts of green energy, which includes wind and solar and others. And then they've been able to access the international markets, which almost slowed down for them after the report in January, with $1.4 billion investment or debt investments being raised from 8 international banks. So $3 billion for a company which at the beginning of the year was going through a big onslaught because of the kind of report and the shorts that were building up, and coming back on a big scale with promoters putting in money at 1480, which is the same, almost the same price as Jan 27 price.
Yeah. How much of that is going to be used for debt repayments, though? And they've stated very clearly in the release that this is going to be used for debt repayments.
So so I think here they have been ahead of the curve. Going into 2024, investors would have again started asking the question about the debt repayment issue, which is going to come in September 24. $750 million holdco company bonds, which are getting matured. They've taken the plunge now to put in money, and I'm sure that it's a warrant which has to be converted within the next 18 months, so the money comes within 18 months. But it will happen before September, because $750 million is what they want to pay off in the holdco bonds at least. Followed by nearly 25% of the issue of 2,800 odd crores for investment into various subsidiaries for the projects, and 2,700 odd crores for general corporate purposes. But the important thing is that we have seen many companies, investors raising question about the ability and cash flows to pay off foreign bonds. Here they have already put in the foot in the game, saying that okay, we are going to raise it upfront, keep the powder dry, and we're going to pay off come early to 2024.
Now, Alex, you and Sajid mentioned about investor approach, right? Sajid didn't have the leeway. I had the leeway of talking to people post-market hours yesterday to try and understand what this could be signaling. And there's something that me and Sajid spoke about yesterday and out there on social media as well about what is the signaling from something like this. We know that the first half of the calendar, there were issues on funding, both on the debt side as well as the promoters had to sell some stake, or promoters sold some stake, arguably to raise liquidity at their end too, right? Because that's when you presume promoters would sell stake because they would want the liquidity. The fact that all of that seems to have turned around in the last quarter and turned around very quickly, I might add, because they managed to raise the debt that Sajid was talking about. And we're talking only about Adani Green right now. Let's not widen the sphere on everything else. But the signaling is from a group perspective, because I think it will be taken well from a group perspective. Yesterday we saw Adani Enterprises, by the way, also rise in the last 20 minutes that Adani Green went up because of this. But the signaling is twofold. One, that the promoters are not putting in chop change to work. It's 9,000 crore rupees via warrants that they have committed to, which shows that the promoter entity seems to be sanguine about the liquidity at their end, part one. And of course, confident in the business prospects, goes without saying, part one. Part two, that the fact that they've been able to raise the debt, which was always a question mark. Okay, what will happen if, whether QIPs or etc. get matured? Yes, but what about debt? In such businesses, infrastructure, which is such a debt-heavy business, any which ways, it has to be looked at it, typically 70, 30, 80, 20 equity debt, right? Yes. Or debt equity as the case may be. The fact that they've been able to do that as well, and it'll be lovely at some point of time to understand from Sajid, or if we get to talk to the management, about whether the war chest that they've gotten now, does it augur well for them, both from a debt repayment as well as execution of the project's perspectives for how many years now? Now, if they have got enough ammo to serve them well for the next X number of quarters or years, then that is a big shot in the arm for a business like green energy.
I've been speaking to some of the people in the trade, and the murmurs were about, okay, we've seen a run-up of Adani Green from 468 lows to almost 1600 plus, yesterday. But going into 2024, there will be a big repayment which is going to come in of $750 million. Does it have the cash flows to do it? The promoters have put in the foot and said, we have the money and we're
I think
going
that's
to
the
put
point.
it.
The signaling from this, aside of the money, of course, that comes in, very important, but the signaling is important.
So what Sajid is pointing out, half of the money that is being pumped in is likely going to go towards the repayment of this.
That's what the EGM notice says, that over 4,800 crores is going to be put to pay off bonds and interest payment of holdco bonds which are maturing in September 2024.
I dare say, we should give out the standard disclaimers that they own NDTV, of course, and I'm sure, Alex, you will. But I dare say that this keeps not just Adani Green, but the group stocks in focus. We're not saying this is a fundamental event for the group at large, but for Adani Green it is. But it definitely keeps Adani Green and some of the other group stocks in focus.
Not just that, if you're going to be dependent on foreign borrowing, this is a big signal to all the international banks where you're reaching out for funding.
The ability to repay on time and consistently. The disclaimer that Neeraj was pointing out, this is NDTV Profit. It is part of the NDTV group, which is owned by Adani Media Enterprises.